Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. Delighted to have another episode of Checkpoint Charlie, featuring Charles Pierce, one of my favorite political bloggers. He writes for Esquire.com. You've seen him on MSNBC, CNN. He also appears with a certain amount of regularity on the Stephanie Miller Show, which is carried on AM 950. We have a lot to talk about, and we're so delighted he took some time out of his day to speak with us. Charles Pierce, how are you doing today?
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing good. God, since we've last talked, Donald Trump has introduced several new words into the English language. My favorite, combat infantrymen, just his last few days. And I see you covered on Twitter today, you covered a little bit of his ceremony honoring the 9/11 responders and finally signing that bill that they get compensated.
Yeah, I was in Washington for that. That was the day before the Mueller hearings, and it was really quite something to see those guys. And you know, all praise to Jon Stewart for landing on that issue and never getting up.
Yeah, a great advocate for the cause and held himself up so well and supporting all those fine men and women. And I was just watching something today, and Trump said he was down there. He's not calling himself a first responder. But
yeah, I don't know what that's. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the only response he had was to point out that now he had the tallest building in New York.
Yeah, no, it's
one of his more famous episodes. And then, of course, he went over to New Jersey and saw all the Muslims celebrating.
Yeah, I mean,
the guy's a compulsive liar, but he's incredibly compulsive on the subject of 9/11.
Yeah, well, it's. When I lived in New York in the mid-'90s, in Queens, not too far from where Donald Trump grew up in Rego Park, I had the chance to go up to the top of the World Trade Towers, and it was such an amazing experience. What I remember most about it, other than the incredible view, was the variety of languages that were being spoken right around me.
Yeah, well, that's what makes New York, New York. That's why that's why John Lennon fought so hard to be a New Yorker.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he took on the United States government just for the right to be a New Yorker.
Right, and I believe I heard, and I don't quote me on this exactly, but there's like 136 languages being spoken in New York as we speak.
Well, there's probably 132 different New York accents, but I wouldn't be surprised at that at all.
Yeah,
I mean, given the emigration from the Middle East and Africa, sure. I mean, counting dialects, there's probably twice that many.
You're right. Well, and like they say about New York is so great a city they had to name it twice, right?
Right, exactly right. It's so nice they named it twice.
Charlie, before we get into the cesspool of modern politics, I want to tell you about a great show I saw last night. 9-year-old Tony Bennett did an hour show. He didn't necessarily run around the stage like Mick Jagger, but he walked around the stage introducing everybody in the band, and it was such an amazing night. He still has the pipes, and
man, I saw him with my daughter maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it was astonishing. I mean, he doesn't have the stamina he used to have, but for the amount of stamina he has, he still has a wonderful, wonderful voice.
Yeah, and he stands,
and he's such a throwback to an era of entertainment,
Oh, well, it's funny. There was 2 people I've seen now personally that walk out on stage and hold their hands up in what I call the Haile Selassie position and and get greeted by a standing ovation. One was Hubert Sumlin, who became a good friend of mine, who played guitar for Howlin' Wolf.
The great. He's the guy that Muddy Waters tried to steal.
Yeah, and he did.
And Wolf showed up at the club apparently and just dragged him out by his ears.
Yeah, they did. He actually did a short tour with Muddy, and and when he came back to town, Howlin' Wolf took care of that. But I was able to hear so many great stories about Wolf and Muddy and all those other players. But I believe I want to say I might be wrong, but he would grow up in Greenwood, Mississippi, and he went to see Howlin' Wolf perform when he was like 12 years old, and was leaning over a skylight peering into the gig, and literally fell through and ended up in Howlin' Wolf's lap.
Oh, man, that's a great story.
And Wolf took him home.
First of all, a juke joint with a skylight. Most of them didn't have roofs.
Hopefully it wasn't that tall of a skylight. But Howlin' Wolf took him home to his mother and enjoyed meeting the young Hubert, and gave him his number and said, if he ever gets up to Chicago, I'd like to talk to him. So he ended up playing with, considered Howlin' Wolf's right-hand man for years. And, there were so many great stories. I won't get into all of them that Hubert would tell me. But one was that I really appreciated. Howlin' Wolf put all of his band through night school, music classes.
Yeah, he was one of the few guys, and, it's remarkable that he did this, who really took care of his money.
Yeah.
He didn't let the Chess brothers buy him with a Cadillac.
Well,
he got every dime he was owed, or pretty close to every dime he was owed.
I heard a story, Charles, that Charles Pierce, that when Howlin' Wolf, he had a pretty active career just playing in the juke joints, and he also had a radio show. That when he drove up to Chicago, he drove there in a Cadillac with $4,000 in his pocket.
I believe that. I mean, I'm sure he paid cash money for it.
Yeah.
I mean, he paid for Little Walter's funeral.
Right.
Because obviously Little Walter didn't have any money, and nobody else did either, because the Chess brothers had it all.
Right.
But he was a remarkable guy. It's a great chapter, and he's a great chapter in one of Peter Guralnick's early books.
Yeah, I love Guralnick.
I think it's in Feels Like Going Home.
Yeah.
But it's a great chapter about him coming to Boston and doing entire front somersaults in a suit at 300 pounds.
300 pounds of heavenly joy.
Right. That's Guralnick's line, by the way. Guralnick threw that line at him, and he adopted it as his own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, and then of course Muddy Waters took the train up to Chicago, but the great story about him, he was a sharecropper driving a tractor, and the day he was leaving, he got a can of spray paint and sprayed something to the effect of, on the tractor, "I'm out of here." But Tony was so incredible. Charles Pierce, you and I are about the same age. And there was a point, we grew up kind of in the rock and roll generation. There was a point when Frank Sinatra wasn't cool and Tony Bennett wasn't cool. And then you had all the other ones,
Sure.
Vic Dana and Dean Martin. But then over the years, you come to realize, no, Frank and Tony were pretty damn cool.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, they were a different kind of cool, but they were definitely cool, and both of them historically really stood up for the civil rights movement when they didn't have to.
Well,
they were probably advised not to. Tony was at the March on Washington.
Yeah, right. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Charles Pierce, because I was standing outside. I always like to watch the crowd come out of shows, and
sure.
knowing, like, you see a show like that last night, like when I've gone to see Willie Nelson, I'm going to see Willie on Saturday, by the way. But you realize some of these people in their walkers and wheelchairs, this is probably the last concert they're ever going to see.
Right.
So there's always that, that feeling of nostalgia and sadness I have with that. But I was sitting outside talking to a homeless guy who I gave a few bucks to, sitting outside with his cop, and a really nice guy. His name was Jay Johnson, came up from Iowa to take care of his mother. We had a really charming chat, and he reminded me that Tony Bennett sang at Martin Luther King's funeral.
Yes, he did. I don't remember what song he did, but he did sing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was there. He was marched behind the mule-drawn wagon and everything else.
Well, you realize that,
A lot of guys of that generation stood up. Charlton Heston was at the March on Washington.
Yeah.
And, of course, Hibbing's own Bob was there, too, but he was a youngster then.
That was one of his first really big gigs.
Yeah.
But You go back to when Benny Goodman, through the advice of John Hammond, brought Charlie Christian into his band, that music, starting in the 30s for sure, was one of the first places where integration was taking place in this country.
Oh, there's no question about that. I mean, there were, Otis Redding used to sing in frat houses at segregated colleges.
Yeah.
And how many good little white Baptist boys would sneak out to the juke on Saturday night and then have to tell God about it on Sunday. Look at Booker T and the MGs.
Right.
They were way ahead of their time.
Look no farther.
And they were an integrated band.
Absolutely.
They were a house band, and they were completely integrated, and nobody cared.
Nor should they. We've got Charles Pierce on for the whole show tonight. Checkpoint Charlie. We're going to listen to a little music, a couple of commercials, and we'll be back with Mr. Pierce in just a little bit.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Going places that I've never been. Seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends.
Prairie Oaks Memorial Eco Gardens is the first green cemetery in Minnesota. It's a beautiful, peaceful place where burials are celebrations of life with as little impact on the environment as possible. Tony Weber founded it because he wants to leave a green legacy for his grandchildren, something many of us might feel. Learn more, visit the website mngreengraves.com. Give them a call. The goal is so meaningful, so positive, it might be right for you. Prairie Oaks Memorial Eco Gardens.
The number one source of the Twin Cities gay scene is all digital. Follow Twin Cities Gay Scene on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up for the Scene Shot email blast for weekly updates and chances to win great prizes. No app is needed to view the bi-weekly web editions of Scene. It's GLBTQ media for the mobile generation. Find it all at TwinCitiesGayScene.com. That's TwinCitiesGayScene.com.
I'm Richard R.J. Eskow, and this week on the Zero Hour, we'll be discussing political corruption, Wall Street shenanigans, our corporate overlords, digital dystopia, and maybe throw in a surprise or two as well. All this and more on the Zero Hour every Sunday night from 9 until midnight on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, the mystery of the multiverse.
Some scientists believe that our universe is just one in an infinite number of parallel universes.
But has anyone ever observed one of these parallel universes?
Of course not. They can't be seen or accessed from our universe.
Well, then how can we say anything about them?
We're philosophers. That never stopped us.
The mystery of the multiverse. Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Philosophy Talk, every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. on AM 950.
Burger Mo's gorgeous patio is open for the season. Enjoy nightly happy hours, more than 60 beers on tap, and the weather while you watch your favorite game on the outdoor screen. And don't miss live music Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Offering 20 fresh, never frozen burger varieties, Burger Mo's also offers delicious appetizers, soups, salads, as well as unburgers, dogs, paninis, shakes, and desserts. Burger Mo's is located at 242 West 7th Street in St. Paul with plenty of free parking and online at burgermos.com.
Eat fresh and support local farmers this summer by shopping at the Minneapolis Farmers Market. The market has the best selection of fresh and local fruits and vegetables, meats, and farmstead goods. Fresh at the market now, cherry tomatoes, cauliflower, broccoli, cucumbers, zucchini, beets, carrots, and even some new baby potatoes. The Minneapolis Farmers Market is open every day, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Plus, there's additional locations Tuesday at the Hennepin County Government Center and Thursdays at Nicollet Mall. More details at mplsfarmersmarket.com.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. My guest for the whole show tonight, Charles Pierce, one of the greatest political bloggers, writes for Esquire.com. Whoops, let me turn off my phone here. Jesus Christ.
Keep that in the show. Keep that in the show. That's the quote of the week.
Charles, this modern world, it's throwing me. You get so many messages now. Is it on? Did you get the message? The info you need, was it on Instagram, Facebook message? Was it an email? Was it a text? It's impossible. Technology is making my life more complex. That's all I'm going to say about that. How about you? You're a man that you are on Twitter a lot. You're writing your columns. How do you keep all your information straight? You got to watch the news. You're talking to your sources. Et cetera, et cetera.
I try. I think after a number of years in the profession, I've figured out what a credible source is and what news source is and what isn't. But it's hard, and to me, it's not so much the volume of the information as the accelerated pace at which you get it.
Right.
Everything is speeded up. There's if you're not careful, there's no time to sort of, reflect on it or to parcel out all the information, because here comes another wave.
Yeah. Well, and it's you look at, we're going to dip in and out of politics because what I was reading this morning made my head explode, but Trump is moving ahead on so many fronts, right? All seemingly at one point, I'm old enough to remember most of these would be illegal, like getting $2.5 billion for his border wall without going through Congress, which I thought in my civics class, there was the Congress used to control the purse strings.
Yeah, the originalists on the Supreme Court found a way for him to do that, even though it's clearly against, as you said, there's still a Constitution which still has an Article 1, and that says that, basically that the House shall appropriate money for purposes and not, the President can't just grab some and use it to do whatever he's going to do with it.
What do you think?
Why not just grab some and buy an airline or something?
Yeah,
You're
right.
allowed to do that.
Yeah, well, and it's coming on the heels of the Mueller testimony. Were you were in D.C.? Were you in the room?
I was in.
Wow.
As the show says, in the room where it happened. Yeah, I wasn't in the room. It was funny because he needed you there Mullen needed you to teach him about microphone technique.
Right.
Because it kept going off mic and you couldn't hear him in the room.
Right.
So on the second part, the afternoon session where he was in front of the Intelligence Committee, I just went into the press room and watched him on TV because you could hear him better there.
Right.
But, he was in the room, he was getting drowned out by people typing. You could hear the questioners, especially the Republicans, because most of them were yelling. You couldn't really hear his answers.
Yeah.
But he certainly, I think that, the initial reaction from a lot of people was that he was halting and, what was Chuck Todd's line? The optics were bad.
Right.
All I know is that a lot more people, that a number of people have come out in favor of an impeachment inquiry since he testified than before.
Well, and
optics be damned. He did his job.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's facing, there's 20 people on those panels, so you not exactly sure where the questions are coming from. And then the microphone problems. And then would somebody buy Jim Jordan a suit coat?
I don't think I think he's too cheap, basically. I think he buys half a suit. I don't know what that's supposed to be about.
Right.
Is he demonstrating what a brawny former wrestling guy he is?
Yeah.
He's not impressing anybody.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I wish somebody would buy him a clue, too. If they're going to buy him a suit coat, maybe they can make sure there's a clue in the pocket.
Right. Well, he's one step away from wearing a backwards baseball hat.
It's exactly right.
So
he's the guy when you go into the bar after the softball game, everybody sits at the other end of the bar.
Yeah, it's just amazing how There used to be a point, my mother was a Republican. My father was independent, voted for the person who leaned Republican. The day Obama was elected, my father, he bought us, all three of us kids, Obama plates, commemorative plates that he gave us. And he told me, he goes, the morning after Obama was elected, he said, I got on my knees and prayed for the president.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just, when the framers were getting this whole thing together, I don't think they realized 200 years later the level of crazy that would be going on.
Oh, I think in theory they did, because they put in so many of the stopgaps and checks that this guy just kind of bulldozes over.
Right.
With the connivance of his enablers in Congress and his enablers in the media. But I think this guy is not that original a thinker.
Right.
He's got a kind of animal audacity to do stuff, but he's not doing a lot that isn't, except for the kind of vulgar and grotesque way he goes about it. He's not doing a whole lot that a lot of Republicans haven't wanted to do for a couple of decades now.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like, Rick Wilson said in one of his Daily Beast pieces the other day, why don't you just come out and say the N-word? You want to. You know what I mean?
Well, he's getting there. I don't know that we'll ever see it, but I guarantee you that he's right on the edge of blurting it out at some point.
Yeah.
Because he's being bedeviled by these black people who want to know things about his son-in-law and about his daughter and about their business and stuff, and who are these people?
And about the border wall.
Yeah.
I don't think Donald Trump has any clue of the history of Elijah Cummings' place in the civil rights movement.
No, I think all of the guys from that generation, and the guys from that generation are getting very old. We're going to start losing them.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want, once they're gone and can't speak for themselves, I don't want the civil rights movement, interpreted for the next generations by the likes of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Charles Pierce on the line on the Wall of Power Radio Hour all night tonight. We're going to get back into a little music because Charlie's a big music guy. We're going to listen to a little music, hear a couple of messages, and be right back. So stay tuned.
Chances are after spring cleaning you missed a spot. A couple really big spots, like your roof and siding. Run your fingers across your siding. You'll likely get a gross residue. And your roof probably has some black streaks too. Your roof and siding aren't always easy to clean, but they're definitely the most visible parts of your home that give it its curb appeal. So let Blue Sky Services clean your roof and siding. Blue Sky's safe soft wash method won't cause any damages and will make your home look like new. Right now, Blue Sky Services is running their summer special where you can get your whole house, roof, and siding cleaned starting at only $447. That's the most viewed parts of your home cleaned for only $447. Then mention AM 950 when you call Blue Sky Services to get an additional $50 off. So get the curb appeal back on your home and call Blue Sky Services at 952-467-2447. That's 952-467-2447.
This is Ellie Krug from Ellie 2.0 Radio on Mondays from 7 to 8 a.m. Many listeners know that I founded Human Inspiration Works, LLC, which trains on human inclusivity and on how to be welcoming to diverse humans. Today, organizations of all sizes find that they need to train team members on diversity and inclusion. I can do that. Many say that my trainings change the way they see the world. I'd love to help make your organization more welcoming. For more information, go to humaninspirationworks.com. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Peterson with the Minnesota News Network, inviting you to join us this week for Minnesota Matters, a news, entertainment, and sports show covering everything that matters in the North Star State. Tune us in right here or at your convenience at minnesotanewsnetwork.com.
Listen to Minnesota Matters every weekend, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents and Doug.
Limu, there's a woman threatening to sign up for generic car insurance. Grab your birdseed and let's go.
I'm going to sign these papers right here, right now.
Ma'am, drop the pen. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
Thanks, Limu, Emu, and Doug.
Don't thank us, thank Liberty Mutual. But also thank us.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Equal housing insurer. State laws apply.
The Downtowner Woodfire Grill in St. Paul is the perfect choice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. Offering daily fresh seafood specials, fire-roasted meats, exquisite pizza, and half-price bottles of wine on Mondays and Tuesdays, except on Excel Energy event nights. Once you experience their cozy fireside dining, extensive wine list, and bar, you'll be back for more. Gift certificates and private dining room for parties available. Located at 253 West 7th Street with plenty of free parking or online at downtownerwoodfire.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Sam Turnberg. Tonight we have a chance of storms with a low around 66. Tomorrow is mostly sunny with a high near 86. Monday, chance of storms with a high near 84. Tuesday, sunny with a high near 80. And Wednesday, sunny with a high near 81. The Eat Local Minnesota Restaurant of the Week is the Great Wall. They offer one of the most extensive Chinese menus in the Twin Cities. Try their hot and sour soup or mooshu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Just north of 50th and France in Edina. See full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metsa. Honored to have Charles Pierce. I believe it's fourth or fifth appearance on the show. We call it Checkpoint Charlie. Mr. Pierce writes for Esquire.com. He's also an author, sports guy, and a music guy. And before we get to a little more music talk, Charles, what do you think, like you said in the last segment on the show, there's momentum being built up in the House for impeachment. Where do you think that's going right now?
Well, I think that in a lot of ways, about a month or a month and a half ago, Lawrence Tribe pointed the way, which is a way to impeach the guy, and then in such a way that it doesn't really matter whether the Senate convicts him or not.
Right.
Just to get all the information out there, because the Republican Party at this point is hopeless.
Right.
I mean, there's absolute. I mean, you saw it when they all, got in formation pretty much over this racist nonsense he's been tweeting at Elijah Cummings.
Right.
I mean, nobody stood up.
Right.
And when he went after the four women, all of whom are women of color in the House, nobody stood up and said, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe the president shouldn't be doing this under his own name.
Right.
I don't have any illusions that he's actually typing these.
Right.
But there's only one place right now where he can be held to account, and that's the House.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate won't do it. The House is empowered to do it. The courts take too long.
Right.
And even if you could trust them, which I don't. But I think to me, the most disturbing thing in the last week was the Senate Intelligence Committee report on how deeply penetrated the United States elections were by the Soviet Union, listen to me, 1955, by the Russians.
Right.
All 50 states were penetrated in one way or another. And, of course, as Mueller pointed out and the Senate committee confirmed, it's open season now.
Right.
Because the president's not going to do anything about it. It's open season to the North Koreans. Ask the Sony Corporation how good the North Koreans are at hacking.
Right.
It's open to the Iranians. It's open to the Saudis. It's open to everybody who's got a cyber war division.
Yeah, and they all do.
Neither the President of the United States nor the Republicans in the Senate seem to want to do anything about it.
Charlie, what's so frustrating, you look at the purveyor of doom and gloom, which he's called himself, Mitch McConnell, who's holding up a lot of these bills that would protect our election security. I'm going, my God, I guess my question is, how does the DNC, who's the guy in charge that's leading the messaging? Because it looks you could take the GOP down 12 times till Sunday, but there never seems to be a coordinated attack with all of these areas that are obvious GOP weaknesses.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to take this year as an outlier because you've got 25 people running for president.
Right.
So you're not going to get a coherent message until you have a nominee.
Right.
But I certainly think that I think the strategy in the House and in the Senate could be better coordinated.
Yeah.
I think there are. I thought Elijah Cummings had a great idea a few years ago, which was basically, if you won't testify in front of the Congress, we're going to hold up your salary because we can do that.
Yeah. Right. No doubt. I'm going to take a left turn here. I saw a great movie a couple weeks ago called The Catcher Was a Spy. Are you?
Mo Berg.
Yeah, what an incredible cat.
Boston Red Sox catcher Mo Berg.
Yeah, it was such a phenomenal story. Charlie, you're probably in a better position to tell the story of Mo Berg than I can because I just saw the movie. But what an incredible human being. So give us a little background.
It's right up there with. With Hedy Lamarr inventing the code-breaking device.
Right, exactly.
All these unknown. Yeah, he was a fairly decent, not great catcher. Certainly no Earl Batty.
Right. Thank you.
But you're welcome. And he was also, he went into the intelligence service.
Right.
And was really good at it.
And. Yeah, and he spoke like 10 or 11 languages.
Yeah,
and
he was one of those people. I'm sure that in music you have, people who can look at an instrument for 5 minutes and know how to play it.
Prince.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Perfect. This guy could hear a language like once or twice and pick it up.
Right.
Some people are like that.
He learned. He was going over some all-star team when Japan was really developing fondness for baseball. So he went over with Babe Ruth and a handful of other stars in the baseball world, and he got his little book and he learned Japanese on the boat trip over there.
Yeah. And he was a 243 lifetime hitter, so he was a fairly big journeyman. My favorite thing is that Casey Stengel called him the strangest man in all of baseball. This is Casey Stengel.
The other great thing was, and he's just a real, man of international intrigue. And I believe at some point he met Ian Fleming.
Oh yeah, he was working for the OSS, and Fleming was working for I don't remember what the British one was called. But he was one of his deal was to create units to drop into what later became Yugoslavia.
Right.
To fight with the partisans.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a great part in that movie. So, what did you remember? What college he went to?
What college he went to?
Yeah. It was like Princeton or something like that. Or he might have even gone to Columbia.
I think. No, he didn't go to Columbia. He went to NYU.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, New York City. So there's this great part of this movie, so he's he's a catcher and he's exchanging hand signals in English, right? Whatever the English hand signals are with somebody else on the field, and they figured out, well, there might be somebody in the opposing team that can actually interpret these hand signals. So then they did it in Sanskrit.
They're right. Oh yeah.
Well, what an incredible movie, you folks out there.
Well, not only that, but he had an assignment to go and listen to Werner Heisenberg, the physicist.
Right. And possibly assassinate him.
And kill him if he thought the Germans were too close to the bomb. This guy wasn't a desk jockey. He was an active spy. He was you know, he was a secret agent.
Yeah,
and as you said, he traveled in the same circles with Ian Fleming.
And he walked, after that lecture, walked Eisenberg back to his hotel with his gun in his pocket.
Yeah.
And in the movie, it says Eisenberg's son came out years later and thanked Mo for not killing his dad.
It's an odd thing to have to thank somebody for, but yeah, I guess you would do that.
That was really incredible. This Catcher Was a Spy. Go out and track that one down.
Yeah, it's my friend Nick Davidoff wrote the book, and you should find the book. I don't know if it's still in print.
Nick Davidoff,
because
now,
he wrote it
what else did he write? I'm very familiar with his name.
Sure I think he wrote a country western book, actually.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with his name.
Yeah, but his first book, I think, was The Catcher Was a Spy.
Okay, well, I got to get the book. Get the book. Did you see Martin Scorsese's Rolling Thunder review?
I did, and I had forgotten how much video there actually was of that tour.
Yeah.
Apparently they filmed everything.
Yeah.
But how can you not love Bob driving the bus?
Oh, exactly. The Winnebago.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there was a great picture of him in the back of that. He was playing guitar with a guy who became a very good friend of mine, who's a Bob Dylan childhood buddy named Larry Keegan. Larry was in the back. He had a red shawl around him. Larry was got in a diving accident when he was 19 in Florida, lost the use of his legs, and then was running from the cops when he was about 25 or 26 in Mexico, ran into a tree and became a quadriplegic, and became one of the most renowned people in the Twin Cities, one of the first guys to start talking about disability and human sexuality. And so it was nice seeing my buddy Larry. Larry actually died on 9/11, going to get Dylan's Love and Theft. Larry was 60, was coming back and had a heart attack in his van. But it was good to see him. And then the other guy I had the pleasure to know was Diamond Dave Whitaker. And when Dylan and Ginsberg are at Kerouac's grave, and they're reading from, was it, which book was that Kerouac book? I can't remember.
I thought it was On the Road, no?
No, it was...
Or was it Dharma Bums? I don't even know.
It was one of those, although I saw a great picture of Jackie Kennedy reading Dharma Bums on the back of Air Force One, and JFK was eating a bowl of chowder. I just saw that the other day through the magic of that is the Twitterverse. But anyway, yeah. So I met Diamond Dave Whitaker. He's 80. He's still a member of the Rainbow family. He was the guy that not only turned Bob Dylan onto Jack Kerouac, that Bob name checks in that scene, but he was also the guy that turned Bob Dylan on to Woody Guthrie, and we know how that ended up.
Yeah, that was the kickstart. That was the big bang of the career.
Yeah, and
because at that point, prior to that, he was a rock and roll star, rock and roller.
Yeah, came down under the influence of the Dinkytown folk scene, and boy, you look at those. Well, you look at Dylan's whole career. I was driving up north last week, and I always have I just grabbed from my Dylan stash, and all my CDs are in the wrong cases. And I was listening to one of these compilations, and I'm saying to myself, when you look at Dylan's career, all the shows he's played, everything that's been recorded, there's no one is ever going to catch up to him.
No, not in terms of. I mean, he's already passed. I mean, the guy could have. You know, it's almost like he's played music from like from that Harry Smith anthology all the way to today.
Yeah,
it looks like he belongs. You know, he's like that picture of Jack Nicholson in The Shining at the end where he's in the party from 1929.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's almost like that.
Yeah. Well, and he's one of one of the reasons why he is so great is he's one of the America's greatest musicologists. There's not a style of music that Dylan's not hip to or hasn't played.
His radio show was tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a great radio show.
And all that Borscht Belt humor, I remember one in particular.
Yeah.
He was doing a Mother's Day show, and he said, "Yeah, I gave a chair to my mother-in-law for Mother's Day, but she hasn't plugged it in yet." We've got Charlie Pierce on for the whole show tonight. We're going to have one more segment with them, little music, little messages, and we'll be back on the Wall of Power Radio Hour.
For a face in the cement, or the last moan of a boxer, or the massacre of the innocent, a beat man and murder became nauseated. Just me and an overworked dancer. The walls are really deteriorated. I go set my affection on things above. Let nothing stand in the way that love, not even the rock at Gibraltar. If you see her on Fannin Street, tell her that I still think she's neat, and if the groom stay waiting at the altar.
The number one source of the Twin Cities gay scene is all digital. Follow Twin Cities Gay Scene on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up for the Scene Shot email blast for weekly updates and chances to win great prizes. No app is needed to view the bi-weekly web editions of Scene. It's GLBTQ media for the mobile generation. Find it all at TwinCitiesGayScene.com. That's TwinCitiesGayScene.com.
Hi, friends. I've been talking to you about Minnesota's first green cemetery, Prairie Oaks Memorial Eco Gardens. It's an entirely new way of looking at our last earthly step. Burials are designed to have as little impact on the environment as possible. For many of us, a continuation of the commitment we made during our lifetimes. Let me suggest you go to the website, mngreengraves.com. Explore what it is. Prairie Oaks Memorial Eco Gardens. It's a lovely place, a peaceful place. Minnesota's first green cemetery.
This is New Beginnings, hosted by award-winning broadcaster and speaker Freddie Bell.
Freddie, this generation of the baby boomers, people are living longer, so the baby boomers are taking care of elderly parents.
Let's talk about your health, and specifically, let's talk about Medicare. Our show features the concerns of America's 78 million baby boomers in employment, finance, health and nutrition, and even entertainment.
Catch New Beginnings with Freddie Bell, Saturdays at 11 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, Matt McNeil for Rudy Luther Toyota. For your next vehicle purchase, there are many reasons to choose Rudy Luther. First, their top-notch staff from top to bottom is wonderful, friendly, and always ready to help. Another, the Luther Advantage Card. With every new and used vehicle purchase, you'll get 3 years of 10 cents off per gallon of gas at holiday station stores, as well as discounted car washes. The Luther Advantage Card keeps you happy in your Rudy Luther vehicle. Find out more at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Northeast Minneapolis is known for its creativity, and you'll know exactly why when you eat at Hazel's Northeast. Their creatively prepared comfort food will have you coming back week after week. Breakfasts like biscuits and gravy, granola pancakes, and brisket hash. For lunch, homemade soup and one of the best Reubens in town. And don't miss the daily risotto or Chef Ali's ever-changing dinner specials. Come on in. Bring the whole family. Hazel's Northeast delivers real good food. Family owned at 29th and Johnson in Minneapolis.
At Total Dog Company, you have the opportunity to shop local. We stock dog foods made in Minnesota and Wisconsin, such as American Natural Premium. Like all the foods we sell at Total Dog Company, American Natural Premium contains no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives, and no ingredients from China. It is premium nutrition without a premium price. Find Total Dog Company in New Hope right off of 169 at 9432 36th Avenue North and at TotalDogCompany.com.
Gotta give us what we need. Hey, our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. 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 We got to fight the powers that be. As the rhythm's designed to bounce with calcium that will rise, designed to fill your mind.
Welcome back to the Wall Power Radio Hour. This is the last set. Checkpoint Charlie with my good friend and guest, Mr. Charles Pierce, coming to us over the phone from somewhere in Massachusetts. How's your summer been out there, Charles?
Very hot. I mean, it was okay up until about a couple of weeks ago, and then we had a week of just unbelievable heat.
It's been beautiful here. We've had, a week of 90s, but if you've lived through a Minnesota winter, you can't complain, right?
I know. I learned when I was going to school in Wisconsin, I learned that too. I spent one summer out there, and people said, God, isn't it hot? I said, yeah, but it is not February.
Yeah, right. Get used to that. So, Charles, what kind of music have you been listening to? You got any new stuff? Are you going back to the old classics? Or
actually, I put together. This is a long, involved story.
Go ahead.
I went for 2 summers. I was a forest ranger in Douglas State Forest in Massachusetts.
Like Jack Kerouac.
Yeah, and where I was out in the woods a lot of the time, and all by myself, and all I had was an AM radio, and it only got one station, the top 40 station out of Providence. So any song that hit the charts in the summers of 1972 and 73, I know all the lyrics to.
Oh, cool,
Greedy,
right.
Fine Girl, I can sing it in my sleep. So just the other day, I put a playlist together on my phone of all the songs, or most of the songs, that I could find from the Billboard top 40 for every week,
right?
For 72 and 73, and I was amazed by how many good songs there were.
Oh, hell yeah!
It was a really, really, fertile time for soul music.
Oh yeah!
It's the last great blast of soul music before disco came in and ate the world.
Right.
The Stylistics, the Dramatics, the Spinners.
Oh yeah, all that
the
Philly
OJs,
stuff.
all those guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them the second generation because they were all playing, during the first generation, but they all, the Philadelphia guys, they all came bursting out at once.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised that, along with some just unbelievable schlock, there was. I mean, people don't remember that about top 40 music because there isn't such a thing anymore.
Right.
But if you caught a top 40, if you caught a top 40 station, and you caught them on the right day, you could hear some pretty amazing stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, my go-to summer song, and it's not even a guilty pleasure because I think it's a great tune, is Thunder Island by Jay Ferguson.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that's a little bit after the Woodland time, but yeah, I remember that song. Sure.
Yeah, it was great. That's the kind, if you have a ragtop, you got to put it down and go 75 miles an hour and just crank the radio. But yeah, that's
to me. I long ago declared that it isn't summertime until I hear That Lady Parts 1 and 2 by the Isley Brothers, and I don't care if I hear it in the middle of January. It's summer.
What were some of those other tunes on your playlist?
Oh Lord, I mean, I've got the phone right here. I'll summon them up.
Yeah, summon them up.
I got that. I have that. As I said, the first 2 songs are "I'll Take You There" and "Oh Girl."
Oh yeah, there you go.
But the other thing that came out in '72 was "Exile on Main Street."
Oh yeah.
So I have "Tumbling Dice" and "All Down the Line" and "Happy."
Yeah.
Probably Keith's greatest song.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing.
And I had Hot Rod Lincoln was way
sure.
back then. I saw Todd Rundgren's "I Saw the Light."
Right.
Long Cold Woman in a Black Dress.
Right.
Which it was the post Graham Nash Hollies.
Right.
A very underrated song, Rick Nelson's Garden Party.
Oh yeah.
Which was a really nice tune. I'd forgotten how good it was.
You know what? I've heard a couple. I saw Dylan in concert. Well, I've seen him over the years several times. But 1990, I went on a little 4-show run in the upper Midwest, and he did a killing version of Rick Nelson's Lonesome Town.
Really?
Oh, you got to track it down. It's on YouTube. It's phenomenal.
No, I wasn't aware that he did that many covers, but boy, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. Now, Hot Rod Lincoln, was that Commander Cody?
Yeah, it was Commander Cody. Yeah,
I booked
from the Lost in the Ozone album.
Yeah,
which also contains his unbelievable cover of "Beat Me Daddy 8 to the Bar."
Oh yeah,
which I just adore.
They just did. I think it was in San Francisco. They just did a 50th anniversary of Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen. I had the pleasure of booking Commander Cody at this blues club I was working at from 2001 to 2007, and we had a great after party hang, as you could well imagine, with George. Great visual artist too, by the way. But he told me a great story. He was with Russell Means and some other members of AIM when they took over Alcatraz. Do you remember that?
No kidding. That I didn't know.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
He was hanging with them on the island. Really interesting guy. And Man, you just remember all of that early 1970s stuff that came out, kind of the Doug song.
I'm just scrolling through it now. I mean, Everybody Plays the Fool by The Main Ingredient, whose lead singer was Cuba Gooding Sr.
Wow!
Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s dad was the lead singer on Everybody Plays the Fool.
Wow. That's like Spike Lee's dad played bass.
He's a bass player, right?
Yeah, he played with both. He's on a Dylan record, a Gordon Lightfoot record, and who's the other guy? One of the great folks. Yeah, but Van Morrison. He played on Van Morrison record.
Did he really?
I think one of those early ones, yeah. And what was the name of your buddy who wrote the book about that whole Cambridge folk scene?
Ryan Walsh.
Yeah, I got to try.
Astral Weeks. It's in paperback now.
I am going to go pick that up this week.
He wrote about Van's. He wrote about the whole Boston scene when Peter Wolf from the Giles Band was a DJ on WBCN and stuff like that. But he also wrote about how Van came to live in Cambridge.
Yeah,
which is where he wrote most of Astral Weeks.
Man.
And put a band called the Van Morrison Controversy was the name of his band up here. But what else? I just fell out of my head again. This weird kind of confluence where you've got Cuba Gooding Sr. being the lead singer for The Main Ingredient. It'll come back to me in a minute.
Only in America.
Oh, absolutely. And I knew that he did. Spike Lee's father did the music for a lot of his movies. I mean, I know he did the music. He did the music that wasn't like Public Enemy and
right.
The recorded music. He did most of the music for Do the Right Thing.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Charles Pierce, I know you're a busy guy. We will check in again soon.
Hey, very soon. I'm going off to the debates this week, so I'll have something to report from them.
Good. Well, these episodes of Checkpoint Charlie, I bump into people on the street that say that this is one of the favorite. You're one of my favorite. Their favorite guests on my show, Charles. So
I like doing it, even though we always start off on politics. We always end up with Dylan. I don't know how that happens.
Well, and the next time, and we'll keep a little moment of suspense here. We will have to hear that story Popovich has been telling me about the hooker that lives next door to you guys when you guys were going to Marquette.
Oh, yeah, it was particularly eventful the night that she lit the apartment on fire.
We'll save that for the next Checkpoint, Charlie.
All right.
Charlie, thanks a lot, brother. Have a great week.
You too, Paul. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show was produced by Paul Metza, engineered by Brett Johnson. We'd like to thank our guest, Mr. Charles Pierce. Want to find out what I'm up to? Go to paulmetza.com. Every Thursday night, I'm at Shaw's with Willie Walker from 5 to 7:30 in Northeast Minneapolis. A lot of other good things on the horizon as well. Want to thank you for continued listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.